Hey, Selena.
Hi, Suzanne.
Wait, just a second. My computer wasn't plugged. Yeah, okay. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. I wanted to ask you about, I want to say towards the end, but I've listened to a lot of your speaking and it sounds more, it was kind of like a process where things just kept falling away. And I feel like I've been going through that for a year, so I'm really interested in like the end, um, while still kind of seeing through what the end means, that it's not going to be like that in that way. But I wanted to ask you about like, did you go through periods of like trying to surrender and trying to give up and trying to stop searching happiness and like, you said now you're okay with things how they turn out and without very much preference, it's okay the way that it goes. Like, did you try to force yourself to get there and just be like, well, I don't care anymore? Because I feel like there's been for the last year a whole lot of experience regarding, hi puppy, hi puppy, an experience regarding trying to surrender, trying to give up, trying to get to a place where I'm okay with it regardless, no matter what happens. And that doesn't necessarily happen on its own. And I think the last time we talked, I kind of shared with you, like, it'll feel like I'm at a spot where it doesn't matter and I don't care at all. But something will happen and kind of remind me, like, oh no, I still have attachment towards this. I still really do care. I'm in that weird spot of just like any type of trying to give up or any trying to surrender just feels like me trying to still do something to get something on the other side of it. And so I just wanted to hear your thoughts on some of that because it feels like the worst type of mental gymnastics of trying to, tie it all up and get to a place where it just feels okay to the body.
I know. Yeah, that sounds very familiar. There would be times where it's like, yeah, it feels pretty peaceful. And then I will be reminded, like, nope, you still really care about this. And there's a lot of investment in something, and that's okay. I think mostly what happened was, well, a lot of different things, either playing it out to the point where I actually lost it and I grieved it and I saw like, yeah, it still wasn't the answer anyways, or playing it out and seeing how much internal struggle there actually was and mental distress, constantly thinking about it, constantly thinking about all the possibilities. How can I make my possibility come to life? And it was nonstop. I could feel the nonstop uh, and the tightness in the body. Um, I partially saw that I couldn't do anything about it, and I partially saw, is it worth it? Or is there a conversation that I need to have about being like really honest and transparent? Because sometimes that would actually release the anxiety around something because I'm hiding myself. I'm not able to really be honest, and therefore there's an internal trying to figure it out in all of these different ways instead of putting things on the table and seeing how the person responds and reacts. Because I'm also not in control of their response. I actually have to just say it in order to see what the response would be and then kind of move on and process from there. But what most people do is kind of just keep it inside and then there's a constant internal battle that goes on for a long time. Um, yeah, so sometimes it was just more and more honesty with people who are really close to me. Um,
It's like what I'm thinking of is like, you go to touch something really, really hot and the body jerks away before you even have any kind of mental anything regarding it. It's just like this automatic reaction out of security or out of protection. And yet, for the last year, I've been going down into the pain that's in my body, sitting with it, saying, like, it's okay that you're here, basically trying to get myself to just be okay with whatever appears. And it feels like it's not changing my relationship with it to do that. Like, I've tried a lot of somatic work. I really thought, like, if I just could get to the place where I'm in my body and I turn off the mind and I'm somatically with the depression or with the trapped suppressed emotions, like, I'll get used to it, it'll be fine. And kind of like what you were talking about with Mitch, like, I can just live this way and it'll be okay because I'm not going to be up in the mind creating these stories around it. It's just going to be the sensations. But all of this I can see is still like my mind really wanting to play the show and really wanting to figure out how it's going to be before we get there and all of that. And it's annoying. It's really annoying to go through.
that makes sense. That's what the mind is used to doing, though. It expects and wants to predict and get safety that way, but it can never know. It's like an artificial way of living that gives the body some protection, even though it's artificial. Um, that's how it's used to living with the expectation and the trying to predict what will happen.
A teacher I sometimes like listening to online is a woman named Gangaji. And she talks about how when she met her guru, who also was into a lot of non-dual stuff, he told her to just stop, to stop entirely, just to completely stop, 100% stop. And she was a really experienced meditator, so she did her version of what stopping was when he told her that. Like she was like, I'm going to do like a do nothing meditation, or I'm going to do like, it was still this kind of like specific. And like 5 minutes in, he was like, no, 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 stop completely, stop entirely. And within about a week, like, she knew what he was talking about, and she talks about in her talks now just completely calling off the search. And that really just seems like that's what my mind and body really wants to do, but I also don't think that that's something you can really force, that it just has to be something that happens. And I just really want that search to be called off, because seeking is really, really, really strong suffering for me. I'm really, really tired of it. But I also just like can't go back to like self-soothing modalities and pretend like I can get by another month just doing this or doing that, because I'm just not very happy.
Yeah.
I feel so stuck.
Yeah. I often felt really stuck as well because it sounds like you're trying to do everything um, that kind of mimics this, which is understandable. But you see that that's not it either.
Yeah.
So, in a way, it's a good thing. You see that it's not working.
Yeah, and I've gone through periods where it's like, well, I'm just not going to read or watch anything. It needs to come from inside, but I get very tired of that too. I just do you feel like for you it was more of a mental letting go or more of an energetic letting go that brought relief, or do you think it wasn't really couldn't be categorized that way?
Definitely not categorizable. Definitely not one thing. Um, this is completely impossible to get to. I had to hear that it's an impossibility. No matter what you do, it's not going to get you to this. And there was I feel like in the devastation of that, that was the body purging the sense of control. But again, everything that's described can become a thing to do, you know?
Yeah. Yes, I do. It's been a part of the problem too, is I think I've, gotten myself convinced that like because I have ADHD and I like get distracted by shiny things that I practice something new every week. And that if I could just do one practice, and really devote myself to it, everything would click. And then I hear stories or see meditators that have been trying for enlightenment for 50 years. And I'm like, I don't want to do that either. Like, I mean, I can't, like, that can't be me. I can't do that.
Oh, there was definitely not a practice. Definitely not. It
I
was it
feel
was
there's a part of me that's just like hanging on with a white knuckle grip. And then there's the other part of me that's just like trying to get it to let go.
yeah, that makes sense.
And I also just don't know, like, I'm kind of, it overwhelms me to see the way that I manage my experience and the way that like every thought is about improving this, improving my internal, improving the external. Has that mostly fallen away for you? The managing of experience, internal and external, it's not something you're worried about anymore.
Um, I wouldn't say that all worry has completely fallen away. I think basic things, I guess they could fall away, but I guess I'm just describing what's here now. Um, there can be survival things that come up, but am I really concerned about it? Is it like a continuous thing? No. Overall, do I not care? Yeah, because it feels like this life is already over. It feels like it's okay if this body goes now. There's nothing that it needs to fulfill or achieve or um, do first. and then it can feel like it can just rest. It's and it's not in a morbid way, it's not in a sad or fearful way. It's and it's not desperate either. There's just a okayness. Whatever happens is fine. Um yeah, it does feel more obvious that it was never about the environment, the circumstance, the place I lived, um, how I appeared, how I looked, how many friends I had, the stories I have, the experiences. Like all of that has fallen away. There's no importance in any of that.
And is there for you very much self-referential thought anymore outside of like maybe survival thoughts such as like I'm hungry, I'm tired, things that would naturally come from the body? Like do you think about yourself very much anymore? Or is that like because I would imagine that that is possible without buying into identity. And then I've also heard people say that self-referential thought falls away from them. And I'm just curious to hear what your experience is like.
It's really hard to distinguish what is self-referential thought. It's hard for me to distinguish what that is exactly.
Like thoughts and desires about Suzanne and what you like the personal identification story. Is any of that still going and being bought into?
Um, I think a lot of it has fallen away. And I think it only has come from, yeah, that I guess there was a lot of things that was really important here. So maintaining certain friendships for whatever reason, because I felt guilty or because I just felt like I should for whatever reason, they needed me or I needed them. Um, all of that has fallen away. Um, Concern about like the physical appearance here, that was kind of big. Yeah, I don't really care. Um, a lot of that was because of how attractive I wanted to be for probably the opposite sex. And that was also driven by what I did as a profession, how much money I made, what's my plan for the future, and uh, uh, maybe subtle things like hobbies and all of that. All of that has died because it's not a reality anymore. So the thoughts just don't go there. It doesn't care about that stuff. It's not important anymore. But I definitely did not force that. It was a natural happening. It felt so gradual. It really did. But there was I think overall there was a switch from attempting to mimic this. So most people on the spiritual path are trying to mimic aspects of this, but they're nitpicking what they think they want.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, they're trying to mimic it. So what seemed to happen here was that I could see the mimicking happening when it was happening, sort of, not all the time, but it was habituated now because I was on the spiritual path. It was new conditioning to try to appear peaceful or more quiet or more inquisitive or
Yeah.
all of these different things, like feeling in the body. It became a practice, it became a thing. And that conditioning, I think, was purging, but it had to just be here if it was here because I wasn't in control of it anymore. And what was coming up more naturally from it felt more genuine, like wanting internal freedom. So then it felt a little more like the questions were arising on their own because I felt a lot of contraction and tightness, and I really want it to be this way. Um, like I could just feel that. So there was natural questioning around it. Um,
I really struggle with knowing that like all of the glimpses I've had, all of the things that I've read and the teachers I've tried speaking to, none of it has brought any kind of lasting sense of freedom for me. And I know that it's not going to. I fully recognize that. But it feels like there's nothing to do until I have freedom. There's just nothing else. Like, I don't know what else to do other than to keep working at it because in my external, in my identity, I'm not a big accomplisher. I'm not someone who has gone out and gotten a lot for myself or has done very much with my life. And that used to really, really bother me. And I think that a part of me has just become okay with that because this became the new goal. And I see through that too, to an extent. But I just, like, I don't want to mimic. I know that that's not fulfilling. I don't want that. I want some kind of personal revelation, personal freedom. But yeah, what else is there to do when it's just kind of happening on its own anyways?
did you say you wanted personal freedom?
Yeah.
That's not what this is, though.
Right.
But I get it. I think that is an understandable want until it's seen that this is not for you at all. You don't get anything.
I think a part of me was saying that because it's like personal freedom versus trying to get what someone else has. But
Oh,
another
okay.
part of me, like, definitely still wants to get something out of this. So, and there have also been times where it kind of feels like that personal desire has fallen away and it kind of just feels like the person is going and that's what's going to lead to it, but then like grabs back on or it's the mind just. So yeah, it hasn't felt linear at all. It's felt like back and forth.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have right now. there's times where I get on here and I ask questions and it just feels like I'm just going over the same circles. Like I'm just, hey, I've seen that bush before, you know, that type of thing where it's just like, but there's another part of me that feels like because I don't have anyone in my life that knows anything about this stuff and it's so existential and so up in the head that it's good to talk about because it can get very strange.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's good to talk about. I mean, I felt the same way. I felt like I was repeating the same thing, but I had to say it. I had to like express what was happening here because it felt healthy to do so instead
Yeah.
of just keeping it inside. Um, yeah. I mean, have you kind of so it makes sense that for whatever reason there wasn't interest in achieving things in the normal sense, conventional sense, and then a lot of the striving was about this kind of freedom.
Yeah. So I had a really traumatic upbringing
Mhm.
and really traumatic teenagehood and all of it. And I'm in my late 20s now. So most of my life, it has felt like I'm just trying to heal from what's happened to me. I'm just trying to make myself okay after the life that I was born into. And I was a pretty miserable, horrible person to be around due to all of that and what I had gone through in life. And then in my 20s, I read The Power of Now and I was slapped into a non dual state for 2 weeks. And I've been on this path ever since. And it's not, I've never had anything in my life that I've actually committed to or cared about like this, but it hasn't really been a choice. I had an entire year where I did maladaptive daydreaming practices and completely tried to forget about spiritual practice because I was driving myself insane until like daydreaming all of the time became so unfulfilling and that I just basically hopped back onto the spirituality train and there is a part of me that feels like because I've accomplished nothing else, like this would be the ultimate thing to accomplish, the ultimate happiness, the ultimate. And then I hear so many people say, like, it's not like that. So I try to drop those expectations.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you have heard from people that it's like it's amazing to some degree, but yeah, it is better to grieve that and to understand that it's not anything that is familiar to how you experience things before. So then it's like any kind of expectation of it, it just is not it. So,
Yeah. And that became an issue for a really long time when I was trying to chase that 2 week bliss state because it was a bliss state that I was in.
mm,
And I would be able to get glimpses and they would never last as long as that first thing. And it almost feels like I was given this really potent hit of it so that I would consider, like, so that life hooked me in, so to speak. Like, I just can't unsee that. I can't unsee what I saw. Uh, but I spent enough time trying to get it back that I know that that's not really the answer either. It's not something that I can return to, or it's not like that.
nice. Yeah. Do you feel like there's something in your past that you're kind of running from?
Probably, but it's kind of a hard thing to answer because it's more of like, it's been my whole identity, my whole life of just I grew up Pentecostal in a really strict religion. My father was terminally ill from a really young age. Like there was just stuff that made it very hard for me to be a happy child and then grow into a happy teenager and then a happy adult. And so again, before it was like the main goal, the main thing I was always working on was trying to become a better, happier person and to heal and to find growth. And now it's just kind of like, I'd really like to drop the story. It's been really heavy. And I think there's a really, really fine line between surrender and avoidance when we're looking at it that way. So it's hard to answer if like I want to drop it because it's been so heavy and painful, or if I just like am trying to trick myself into like amnesiaing myself from the past. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be a mixture of both. That definitely happened with me as well.
It's crazy the things that can flip between and like even a month's time of, you know, like I'm just not going to think about anything existential whatsoever and I'm not going to do this anymore, and then the next month being like I'm going to practice inquiry 24/7 until this has gotten into place, and then just seeing like okay, every way that I do it is still managing my experience. I'm still, it's funny and it's also not funny at all.
Yeah, I understand. So I think there was also a long period where I felt stuck. I didn't know what was happening. There was no direction anywhere. Um, the question often arose like, is anything actually happening? And I mostly kind of felt miserable. I mostly felt just lost and stuck. Um, and I think that's normal when you're kind of going more into the unknown. It's it's not very clear. I think that you can trust that you have done all the things. You have tried everything. And you know, if there's something that needs to naturally happen, like feeling, let's say feeling the feeling, meaning just letting the feeling be there. It's nothing that you have to do anymore. It's just there if it's there. Um, trusting that it will happen if it needs to happen. You don't have to direct everything.
It's weird the reaction I'm having right now to hearing you're good. You've tried it all. You did it all. Because that just hit me really hard. And I think it's because I everybody has a suggestion for what you should try next and what you should do and what you should. I'm tired of that.
I know it's exhausting.
Like it's kind of heartbreaking and also kind of relieving to hear you say that.
Yeah.
And a tiny bit encouraging too. Like, yeah, I have tried it all.
Yeah.
You're right. Thank you for allowing me time and talking to me and It does help.
Yeah. I know it's confusing. You're not far from anything, just so you know. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Selena. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Too.
You know, I also think it's really good to know that no one knows anything. So, a big part of this is becoming your own authority. I think as long as you believe that someone else knows or has the answer, yeah, there's kind of like a lot more doubting, I guess. And I think out of habit, it's normal that it arises. Just see it as like echoes of the past, like these past ways that we're used to functioning, you know? Like we're used to having another tell us what to do and believe that they know more. Hey, Liv.
Hello, Suzanne. I have a heavy, cold voice. I don't know if I can speak that much, but something
Okay.
called me to speak while I listen to Selena. Um, yeah. I'm 51 this year, or this person is 51 this year, and this has been a long life like this. Um, I can see now glimpses that came in teenage years that was interpreted as mental illness. And that's been the long journey with many periods of this giant void that this person didn't know what to do with. Um, and last year in September, there was suddenly this collapse. Um, where I was taken out in a way. And since then, yeah, and a honeymoon phase, and then I guess still this purging is going on energetically. And what's coming up, why I speak now, because of Selena, is why I actually raised my hand. Is this picture that came. I was in a retreat in March, and this purging has really been heavy. It's really been pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. I'm like, how strong can this be? I thought it was over now. Oh. And then this picture came from when I prepared to give birth. I have two children, and I was studying what is it called? Ecstatic birthing or something like that. And there was this midwife from the States that presented us to this video with an elephant giving birth. And this elephant yeah, what's showed in this is very short sequence from Bali or something. And this calf, I think it's called a calf when it's an elephant. When the calf comes out, it's totally not living. And then the mother, the elephant, she starts kicking pretty hard, this elephant, this calf. And then it rises. Yeah. And what we were taught through this was like relax into this birthing. This power is in everyone. And now with this, it's so obvious to me that there's nobody here doing this. There's
Nice.
nobody here. We can't prepare. And every preparation, everything we do, it's also this. It's also this power. And it's beyond
Beautiful.
comprehension. It is. And yeah, and this came up today again. I was in a satsang before this call, and there was a lot of talk about illness and dying, and yeah, how powerful this is to witness a person dying, and again it's the same thing. And it came to me, yeah, it's not only in these spectacular moments like the awakening, the birthing, the dying. It's every day, it's every moment. And I've been to Gangaji talks too, and dying into every now, like, yes, yes. We do whatever we do, and we don't even control this. It's just pushing and pushing and pushing, pushing. And it's so beautiful. And at the same time, there's nobody doing it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to speak more because yeah, also some perching here. But yeah, I just
Yeah.
wanted to share because yeah, there's nobody giving up. There's nobody forcing. There's nobody. We're just here.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Suzanne. I just forgot to mention how I found you in the Christmas time in a very, yeah, also pretty heavy time for me, and you were such a great support with all your videos, and yeah, thank you
oh,
so
I'm
much
so
for
glad.
sharing. Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks so much. It's nice to meet
thank
you.
you. You too.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. All that's coming is that this thing we call a body is so unbelievably intelligent. Yeah, we've never been doing anything. We've never been in control of anything. There was never anyone here to begin with. I was also thinking how I have a tendency to describe what's going on here. And in the beginning of this meeting, I didn't want to do that because it creates expectation and it makes you compare, I guess, automatically. And so a part of me wants people to um, have a description, but also I could see that it's maybe not that helpful as well. Because, yeah, it basically doesn't matter what anyone else is going through. What's happening there is just what's happening, and it's it's perfect as it is. It doesn't need to change. If anything, there was a diminishing of the expectation that this should be better in any way. It should be other than. It should be more clear. It should be other than this. Like it's really not in your control. Whatever is there is just there. And the idea that yeah, it should be a different way, um, that creates the tightness. Hi, Jake.
Hey, I just wanted to say a quick hello. I've watched a lot of your videos over the past year or so, but I'm pretty new to this group. Um, I think you're the least judgmental person I've ever seen. Um,
Oh,
so it just
that's
feels
really
very,
sweet.
I'm pretty nervous talking in a group setting, but it feels very safe to talk to you. Um,
Oh, that's like the best thing I could hear.
um, I think it took a long time for I think it's just starting to sink in when you talk about like this isn't in your control and you can't get there. I think like Selena was saying, it's almost impossible not to make that into a practice of some sort for a while. And I mean, I've basically been seeking for like 10 years, but I think it's starting to sink in, that there's no control and there's relief in that. Um, and that doesn't really get me anywhere. I mean, it's really just the relief of not having to try so hard, which is nice.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I feel like a lot of this is this harshness and push from everything and everyone that we should be different. So that's including this like awakening thing, you know? And yeah, if anything, this was like a permission to be myself, like completely. Whatever was here was just here, not in my control, didn't mean anything about me, didn't matter, didn't need to go away, didn't need to change, didn't say anything about me.
Yeah, I think it's easy to dismiss that because I thought that's what I was doing before the spiritual path. I thought I was being myself. So I thought that's what the problem was. So then I thought the spiritual path was a way to get out of that. But now I'm really realizing I was never actually really allowing anything. It was all just trying to fix myself the whole time.
Yeah. I think it's gonna vary for everyone, but I feel like it's okay to not break the whole container all at once because we have certain um more pressing hurts and needs and traumas that want to be addressed. And it could still be coming from a container of I should be better and attempting to provide the space for it to be as it is. Um, so I guess you're kind of just having a taste of what it's like to be a little more accepting, but from a personal place. I'm trying to be more accepting, and that's fine. And then there comes a time where it can all burst, that there's no person to try and be accepting. It's already accepted, no matter how it appears, and that it is quite different.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much back and forth between less identity and more identity, and there was a lot of trying to get back to no identity for a while, and there's still some of that, but at a certain point, it's like trying to get back to less identity is just trying to run away from problems that need to be addressed. And then seems like the best thing I can do is just try to address the problems in a conventional way. And then at least, even if I fail, I'll know that I did my best and there's really nothing more I can do.
Beautiful. And also knowing that it's not such a big deal, no matter what the outcome is. Like you never really failed or succeeded.
I know we're almost out of time, but I'd be interested to hear you talk a little bit about like physical health issues. I'm like pretty chronically ill with a lot of digestive problems and stuff, and I think there's a lot of trying to address that at a conventional level, like through the medical system or through some sort of physical healing process. And then there's also trying to address it at an emotional level, but both of them just feel like trying to solve the problem, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's like the problems still don't go away. So it's like maybe my body's just really unhealthy and there's nothing I can do about that. But I think I'm attracted to the idea that I could somehow address some emotional issue that would make me healthier somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. I think in general, living as a person is quite stressful for the body. So it can have effects. So sometimes it's not necessarily about a specific emotion necessarily or something like that. It's just that is how it is. There is just more a tightness that can form over years of living that way. And that's just normal. That's all of humanity. And then there's also understanding that the body's very fragile. I used to think that oh, once there's once there isn't as much contraction, the body would be healthy, but that's just an idea. So even that left, and now I just don't know. Um, I could see with uh, the less burden that the body has, it does on its own naturally gravitate toward what seems so-called healthier, but I'm not really trying anymore. It seems to just happen. Um, but I didn't expect that. I didn't try and make that happen. When I was emotionally purging stuff or it was more chaotic, I I needed to go to the so-called coping mechanisms here that felt good and not judge myself because my body needed that. It needed to feel comforted in that way, and there was nothing wrong with it. So yeah, if you want to share more specifics about what it is, but you don't have to.
Um, I think in my case, there's just a lot of trying to figure it out at a mental level, like um, just like trying to find a physiological root cause, trying to address that through like however I can, and then just getting, I don't know, just a lot of thinking about health problems, and then wondering if maybe it has nothing to do with any sort of physiological cause. Maybe it's just like a mental health issue that's causing my physical health problems. But I think then there's like judgment of like, well, if I could just process my emotions better, or do whatever I need to do on a mental, emotional level, then my physical health problems would resolve. So it's like taking so much responsibility and blame for all of it. And also realizing I have no control over my emotions or mental health either. So, but I think maybe I've just been conditioned to think that I should be able to have control over those things. So yeah, and I just really don't know. I have no clue what's going on. Like I don't know what causes anything. Um,
Beautiful. Yeah, I had a lot of health issues. I think I struggled with it for over 10 years. I'm not even sure if it went away. I think the care about it just went away. Because it's so like instantaneous now that I can't really perceive the body's like I I guess I just can't say anything for sure. Um, but my what I was told by other people, like experts, or I could tell that it was really fear driven, whatever they were telling me. And a lot of that kind of naturally fell away as like, well, they don't know either. I think that a lot of things that we've been told come from a lot of fear of like, you should worry, like, you should take responsibility, you can make it better. And therefore, um, yeah, there's a lot more fear and anxiety and responsibility, like you said. But yeah, I kind of really saw that I actually don't know, and I don't think that they know. Not that I didn't generally do what I thought might help sometimes. Um, but overall, I did have a sense that actually I don't know. I've tried everything. I really have. It didn't fix the problem. I think it made me more anxious and more in fear, more obsessed over the physical body and how it functioned, if anything. Um, and yeah, I think at times there was more of an acceptance that maybe this is just how this body is. And and that expectation of like it should be better than this was the majority of the suffering.
yeah, 100% agree with all of that. I think a lot of it is just wanting to be able to like fit in with how other people do things. Just like, I mean, at times I mean, at sometimes I'm totally fine, but other times it's like a physical disability, and I just really want to be able to like participate in the activities that other people are participating in and just be normal. Um, and yeah, so I have a really hard time just accepting that this is how it is. And I'm like in my late 20s, so I think I just like see my whole life. I mean, I imagine decades into the future, like, is this just going to be how it is? Um,
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I think allow yourself to really grieve that. It makes sense that it would be sad. The comparison makes sense.
yeah, see, I really, really like it's really relieving when you don't give me any solution to the problem, but I think then it's also like I kind of want someone to tell me what to do. So yeah, there's that conflict between like,
Yeah. So sometimes I felt like allowing myself to fully feel exactly how I feel, like devastated that this is what it is and that I just don't know the future, allowed for the body to process exactly what it needed to process. And then you see from there.
yeah, that's the thing I've been confronting lately is I can't even say that anything's being processed. Like whatever's happening is just happening, and there's no ability to like say that there's forward progress or I'm going in any direction, which is that's what I really want. I think that's why I want to know things because I want to know that my life is going in the right direction. And that applies to like awakening as well. Uh
I think he just beautifully described um, this false path that everyone is on. No matter what it is, it's a false path. And there's a devastation in recognizing that it's a false path. There is no actual path anywhere. It's just this. So there can be echoes of, you know, what we expected and how we want things to be that keep emerging. It keeps popping up with all the comparison and what if I never get to do this, and there's echoes of that, and we have to kind of feel the what that actually does to the body, to never be here, to never be yeah, without a future moment. So that's why I say it makes sense that it's sad. And all there is to do is just be sad.
yeah. It, yeah. Talking to you right now, it doesn't even seem like a problem. It's like I don't even know what I was worried about. So that's kind of how it goes when I'm talking to someone who really doesn't see a problem, then I'm like so immediately attuned to that as well. I'm like, oh, there is no problem. Uh, so yeah,
Beautiful.
that's weird. I don't know. It's when I'm by myself, the thoughts are so much more obsessive, and it's like impossible not to see a problem.
I know. Yeah. It's because there can be many reasons why you think you should worry. Um, at least that's what was here. Like if I thought my acne was a problem, it was because no one would find me attractive or my friends would judge me when I'm with them, and I don't want to be with them because I don't want to be judged. And so it's like it becomes a whole mountain, a ripple effect of why I cannot be with pimples because it feels so daunting. Like it affects everything. Um, so I understand that. But then when you're with someone who's just like, so what? Like, so what
Hmm.
if they judge you? Who cares if they're not friends with you because of that? Or um, does that even mean that the body is sick? I don't even know. I don't know. Does that even mean that there's a problem with the body? I don't know.
Can I ask, what's your experience of being judged by people now? Like, would you just sort of naturally avoid being around people if you were sensing a lot of just like judgment, or like does that affect your behavior at all, or do you just not? Yeah, I'm just curious.
Um, I think it wouldn't matter what I did. If I felt overwhelmed, it'd be fine if I didn't see people because of that. Right now, honestly, I just don't see people. Just because it's not because of a real reason. Um, I think what I'm getting at is that it's not a problem if you feel overwhelmed and you don't want to see people and you don't want to expose yourself. That's perfectly fine. Makes total sense.
Yeah, I think I see it as like a weakness somehow. Like I should be able to just be unaffected by judgment, or not be afraid of embarrassment, or
Oh, yeah. Let
so it's
yourself
like,
be
yeah.
embarrassed.
Or at least if I do feel embarrassment, I shouldn't let it like prevent me from doing certain things or change my behavior. So then
Yeah.
it's weird when you say like, oh, it's fine if you just want to like avoid people or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, then what is there to work on about myself? Or like, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. That's beautiful what you just said. Because fuck that. Fuck those who have told us that if, if there's something there, you have to like work through it. Who said that that's true? Why not be tender and kind? Why not listen to the body and see that it's too much right now? Why isn't that okay? Why do you have to force the body to be a different way?
Yeah, I think it's just like an image of like the end of the path means that I am like always completely, yeah, just somehow unaffected by other people. So it's like if I let myself be affected by other people, then I'm like getting further away from the end goal or something.
I understand. There's no one right way. So it just doesn't matter what you do. Sometimes you might expose yourself even though you feel embarrassed, and that's okay. And sometimes just doesn't seem necessary. The embarrassment won't kill you. It doesn't say anything about you. It also doesn't need to go away, but it won't kill the body. It's not an unbearable sensation. It just is what it is. We don't really know what that is either. And it's okay if it arises. And what another person thinks of you is a made up thought from a false reality. Everyone has a false, not a false reality, but you know, it's like a made up reality. So it's not even like truth. They can't see you. So there's basically no person, and all there is are beliefs and judgments, positions, fears, how things should be, how things should look. So that's what's being projected outwardly. That's what's being seen. And it's going to be vastly different for everyone.
Yeah, there's just something that's afraid of pain in general and sees other people as one of the primary sources of pain, or at least emotional pain.
That makes sense. That was the same here. I used to have cystic acne, meaning like it's so large and it's deep in the skin. You can't do anything about it, but it was everywhere. And I had social anxiety and I was suicidal. I didn't want to see anyone. Um, I just wanted to be alone, but I also wanted comfort. And um, whenever I would see someone, I it got horrified reactions, or you should do something about that, or it was really harsh comments. I mean, yeah, no wonder I didn't want to see people.
Mm.
They caused me a lot of pain.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say, but really just want to say thank you. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing, Jack. Is it Jake? It's Jake.
Oh, yeah. Jake.
Yeah. I appreciate it. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. I think I'll see you in like 3 weeks, the Sunday after Mother's Day. So have a happy Mother's Day. Thanks so much for sharing and being here. Love you all. Bye.